find you a squirrel. Where's the squirrel? Where's the squirrel? Get him, Jake. Get you one of them squirrels. Put him up, son. Get him. I believe that dog makes a squirrel dog.
What would I do to teach a fellow like you how to call a duck? Jeremy D. Helms. What's your major in, Helms?
Graphic design.
A graphic designer. Well, I got my filing cabinet here. I got my tools of the trade here. I am heavily armed. I don't leave home without it. You want to talk about a sword? There it is. How would I teach a graphic designer how to call a duck? Helms, tell the truth. Were you the biggest dork in your high school or what?
That's close.
You're close. Now, why would I have guessed that? Have you ever maliciously killed a duck in your life?
No.
Never killed a duck. See, that's what I'm talking about, what people miss. Well, a fellow like you, what I would say to you is, I'd start with this old DC 200. There's a mule. Let's see here. I have a couple of DC 200s. What I would say to you, I would say, Helms, I'd say the first thing you got to understand is a duck call is not blown. Look here. Now you're a dork in high school, and when all the kids were out, playing, football and volleyball and kickball and dodgeball, you back in there in the office, you back there in the back of the room, you and a couple of little gals there, you on that Nintendo, That's why you act like you do now. So this is one way, this is one avenue, this is opening up a whole new horizon for a man like you. You say, if I could call a duck, I'd love to be able to do it. So get it in your head. You're a smart guy. You deal with computers. I don't, but you do. But the world needs people like you. The great thing about America is that weirdness, Helms, is in. So you can be weird. You work for me, see? So you're around perfectly normal people. You're weird, but we've accepted you as one of our own. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we get to ducks. Look, if you blow this, look, you go. That's blowing. That's why I said a duck call is not blown, because I just showed you what blowing is. The problem with blowing is that your tongue lies down. Is it lays down? Your tongue is down in the bottom of your mouth. When I'm going, oh, 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 my tongue never moves. That's the problem with blowing a duck call. Rule that out. Some of them will say, well, you got to come from your guts. So instead of going, they'll go, so they'll grunt in with that sound, but the problem is their tongue is still down in the bottom of their mouth. Oh, like you'd say, oh. Everybody say, oh, 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 oh. Your tongue doesn't move. What you got to do, Mr. Helms, is you've got to learn to say 10, 10, 10, 10. And the reason it's 10 is because, look, oh, 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 no pressure, but 10, 10, 10. When you say T sounds, that old J's coming. When you say T sounds, it gives you some pressure because your tongue enables you to put pressure on these reeds. So what's the difference? No pressure. There is pressure. It all comes down to what one does with one's tongue. So when you blow a duck call right, you say, well, it's more controlled breathing. So it's, if it's a feed call, it's quick 10s, Helms. If I don't take my tongue and raise it up against the roof of my mouth and come down, all you have is so it's got to be 10-10, 10-10. It's not that you come from your gut, it's just that your gut tightens up when you say the word 10. Everybody say 10, 10. You'll feel your stomach tighten up. That's why they've always said, well, you got to come from your gut. What they're really saying is you have to say a word that your stomach tightens to say it. 10, 10, 10, 10. So it's pressurized air. Any T sound, I'm saying 10 because 10, your tongue must hit the roof of your mouth twice. 10, it drops down on the T, no. 10, no. And that's exactly what you're doing. That's where your tongue is, and that's what it's doing with each note. That's 5 little quick 10s. Draw your first note out. Say 10, but hold it. I'm saying 10, 10, 10, 10. So whether it's a feed call, whether it's a quack, or whether it's 5 to 7 notes, which basically all a duck ever does, get that squirrel!
So when do you blow a feed call?
If you're in water 12 inches or less. If you're in water, you're hunting in water that's 12 inches or less. That tells you that that's as deep a water as puddle ducks will feed. So puddle ducks, teal, gadwall, widgeon, mallard, pintail, as deep as they go, where they just bobble up and they come back. Well, as far as they can go down is about 12 inches or less. So if you're in water 12 inches or less, hell, give a feed call. Now look, while you're learning here, as the dork of the high school, don't forget, you say, well, what if I'm in water over 12 inches? Don't use a feed call. Don't even give them a feed call. By the way, don't go. That's not a feed call. That's just what people call a feed call. A feed call is what you just heard. And look, helps you take your hand and you cup it a little bit. You open it a little bit. That's just with your hand. So this fine tunes the sound of your duck call, especially on little finesse stuff like a feed call. A feed call is a little finesse thing. By and large, you don't have to have the feed call. It doesn't hurt if you're in 12 inches of water or less. It does hurt if you're in water too deep for ducks to feed. You're giving them a feed call. They know better. So you hurt yourself by using it when you shouldn't. Now, what else do you want to learn here today before I kill some beavers?
I noticed that doesn't sound anything like the duck calls that I hear in the contest and everything.
Well, where is one? Let's see if I got one here. If you want to be a world champion, Hales, I can see it now. The local geek of the high school, Jeremy D. Helms, aspirations to be a world champion. Well, now we're talking something entirely different. To be a world champion, you would have to go from that, which is like a duck, what a duck does, to this. So when they showed me that 30 years ago, 35 now, and they said, Mr. Robertson, in order for you to sell duck calls in America, you're going to have to be the world champion duck caller, then people will buy your duck calls. It is a way, I guess, of doing it. Most of the fellows who do that, it's all about air control, can also do this. You would probably be better off by just getting about 5 to 7 notes. Which one sounds easier for you?
Second one.
Second one? Okay. I would just stick with this. And look, there's a certain amount of prestige you'll get, personal prestige, when you say, forget everybody what they think. You know, who cares, who's the best and all that stuff. Don't worry about all that. You just say, you know what? I went out there and I got my tongue. And lo and behold, a big mallard drake heard that, and I saw him cup his wings, and he came in there. Well, you know, a fellow like you've never killed a duck. A big mallard drake just comes right down in his face. I'm not kidding. See, you've never been a druggie and all that stuff, you know. And you were a little child, you know, and your parents in there, yeah, they're fighting, you know, and you're trying to make it your way in America and trying to be a productive citizen. So you play a Nintendo, and then you went in and you got just bigger now, just a big Nintendo, you know, editor on the videos, you know, and filming people. I know it's a lonely existence to be out there in the brush. Everybody else is getting the credit. You're making other people famous, and you say, who's that? Well, and they just pass you by like a warm spring day. But if you could get 5 to 7 notes out of one of these duck calls, and a big mallard drake will come down in your face, trust me, you will say, I have arrived. I am somebody. I can call a duck. And it'll help your, what's the word? Your confidence. It'll make you a more confident person. Would you like to have more confidence as you go through life?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, man. Hey, this is the way to get it. Look. 5 to 7 notes. And leave this to the main street call. Now look, I doubt seriously if a duck, Helms, could win the World Championship duck calling contest. Well, if a duck can't win a duck call contest, why, a man of your stature, why would he even attempt to go do that? You see what I'm saying? So, they're a great bunch of guys, and most of them can call a duck in a heartbeat. But what we're discussing is just a way to build confidence in individuals such as yourself to be able to call an old mallard drake in and blow it. Don't let him get away. Don't let him fly now. When he lights, if you let him fly, Helms, who knows? If you get him on the water, you've called him, your confidence is there, you're excited, just take his head smooth off where he sits. It's a confidence building. Don't worry about the dog. Go get him yourself. You see what I'm saying?
There's a procedure you go through. You gotta have a clean net. Clean net means good fish. Dirty net, bad fish. My toes would be easier to carry through so I can get my pound price for them. Be a lot harder to drive the bodies through the brush. Might be close. Got paddles.
Think you can show me the difference in the brown sugar and the rest of the calls?
Yeah, I can. I don't leave home without my duck calls, my Bible, or when I'm going into any kind of water in Louisiana. You got to take this thing right here. That's my snake dog. And once they get bit, if they get bit the first 3 times and they don't die, then they're immune to it. So she's already been bit about 10 or 12 times. She's immune to it. You say that's a brutal thing to do. But I want a dog walking in front of wherever I'm fixed to go, so the snake will bite her, not me. And she don't seem to mind. Look, I didn't call her. I came down here and got in the boat and she was there, ready. But on the calls, you asked me the question, why did we come up with the brown sugar? And the thought was, since a duck does not echo, which is one of the world's phenomenons, people don't understand why. We tried to build a call that does not echo, which is pretty difficult to do. Most calls reverberate or echo. This one is muffled, like a Mallard hen. And I'm blowing this up under a tin roof building. Doesn't echo. We're like the duck picker, which is a step up in volume, reverberates more. Now I love both calls, but I would use either one based on the situation. If it was real still, right now the wind's blowing a little bit, so the duck picker would be probably my call of choice. But if it was real still and ducks were real call shy, I would tend to go with something with no echo and that was softer and more muffled. I mean, you can milk this down to nothing. And still have a ducky sound. Now the only catch to this is to blow it. You have to have pressurized air, which you seem like you wouldn't because it's so soft and non-echo. You wouldn't have to pressurize your air, but I don't mean the amount of pressure you put in it. It's just whether your air is pressure or not. And to do that, you inhale and hold it. And you're going to blow from that inhale position. Instead of exhaling or blowing, I'm going to force the air out from that inhale position. And my tongue is allowing that air to come through in a pressurized manner. No pressure. No pressure. And that's why we came out with the brown sugar. It'll kill you some ducks. In certain times of the year, in certain terrains, it's what you gotta have. I'm ready to go catch some fish.
All right.
You ready?
Yeah.
You wanna go?
Yeah.
There we go.
Cut him.
Man, when you put about 100,000 of these duck call reeds together, you got to take a break every once in a while to break the monotony. Me and old guy, when he's out there rigging up the boat, we're going to go try to find these big slab crappie. I'm putting a few of these little jigs together. Got that bleeding hook on them. They work. We done caught a few out of them. We ain't found them yet.
So do you have that smoke call handy? Kind of want to
I got one right here somewhere. Let me look for it right quick. Get these baits put up. Make sure the joker hasn't got any of these rivets stuck in it. These reeds. Me and Phil designed this call right here. He kept getting people calling him and say, hey, I hunt a big open water lake or a big open rice field. And talking about, well, I see ducks flying out there and I hit them and I don't know if they're hearing me but they just never check up or nothing, never act like they don't hear me. Well, I'll give you two examples here. Either they didn't hear you, or maybe they did, and you didn't sound like a duck to them. So we're going to help you out on both points. Field design is called for the open rice field or the open, big open water lakes. It's hard plastic. It's the smoke, and we named it that because of a color. That plastic's kind of cloudy looking, looked like smoke there. But this call was designed to get loud and rowdy. So they will hear you, but on the second point, not only do you have to get loud, you've got to sound like old Mallard hen sitting out there on the water that's inviting old Mr. Mallard Drake, come on down and join me. Everything's fine down here. But this thing there, this here call, and you can work it down soft when they get in close. Or you can get loud with it. But that'll do the trick for you, boys. Hey, I'm being Godwin fixed to go try these big slabs properly. Need a break. Godwin, you ready? He's out there fooling around, boys. Let me get my tackle box here. All right.
Told you it'd be close. Thought it'd be closer than this.
Yeah, I don't think this is close.
Oh, I heard that Mallard Drake. Yeah, we had a gas, boys. Told you it's gonna be close. I got to make it to that net right there, and then we can drift back with the current. You got anything else better to do?
No.
That's what I thought. You can't get too much in a hurry. I always told my wife, when I leave, expect me at dark. She said, why? I might run out of gas. And if I ain't there by dark. Yeah. Well, we had a gas. Ain't no doubt about that. Here, Jaguar. See if that's okay. Yeah, that's mine. That ain't yours. Well, all we gotta do now is drift in. I think we'll get there in about an hour. You asked me about the teal call. Teal call, green wing or blue wing hen. Now they make all kind of little quacks and squeaks, and before daylight when we're blowing at them, that's what we do. Now the teal green wing drake, he'll peep. So the fellas in there that can't blow a duck call or whatever, you tell them, say all you do is this. I'm just going tap, 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 tap. And the hen, I'm just blowing a faster cadence, and I'm still using my tongue. It's just fairly easy to blow. If you just blow on it, so you put a little pressure on it, a little faster. That's it. Works on green wing or blue wing. You blow that about daylight, you'll hear them. Of course, Phil's famous line is because of the backdrop. Once they come in, you might as well just ground swat them and get them over with. Which ain't a bad plan. But once they get up, the backdrop's got you. But it will work on teal.
Get ready, get ready. One got away.
Times are hard. That's all we got. That was about a mile of paddling, mile of drifting, 3 catfish, a buffalo, and a gar. Give them kids a gar. They don't know the difference.
What are y'all working on?
Me and Si gonna go check that 2-stump on. He'll come on. You wanna go with us?
Yeah, I'll go.
I think they might be up there. I want to try to get on some of them white perch. I think it's a little too late for that.
So out of the documented duck calls, which one's your favorite?
I like the mew. It fits my hair. Everybody's got a little different hair, but that mew, I got it in my truck right here. Keep it in my truck because I'm always tooting on it. Some of y'all's got that look at a red light before. It's a DC 747 mew. It's a half breed. You know, you get a donkey and a horse together, you get a mew. Well, this has got a wood barrel, which makes it smooth, but it's got this high impact plastic back here. It gives it its volume, and it's just mellow, kind of loud. It's just. Oh, I like it. This is one I hunt with. It's got that old scratchy, raspy, nasally sound that old hen's got. It's open water, windy days. People that blow real hard, they like this call right here because it'll take it. But this is it. This is the mew. Boy, it's smooth. I like it. Keep it safe right there. My guard dog, Killer, he don't eat much. He's stuffed right now. I took Johanna to school this morning. Let's find Si. Si, you ready? Let's go fishing.
The cottonmouths made a deal with the beavers. They cut a deal. I don't know what the beavers promised them, but they promised them something. I think what they promised them was free fishing along them beaver dams, some little perch and stuff, if they wouldn't bite them. So when the cottonmouths agreed not to bite the beavers while they built their dams. The cottonmouths then came back with a proposal and said, I tell you what, if you'll let us fish on these beaver dams, we'll protect them for you from anybody who wants to tear them out. We'll bite the first man that comes up here to try to tear out the beaver dam. And the beavers said, well, good night, we can't lose at that deal. Give them a few perch, let them fish. They won't bite us, and then they protect their beaver dams from fellas like me who come down there and try to tear them out. So that's what I'm up against here. That's why I said they're working in tandem, in cahoots. So they've hired them doggone cottonmouths out to get us. So my take on it is, you just kill them all. You just kill them all. Get rid of all of them.
How you doing?
Now this fellow here is a professional trapper, and he comes down in here. That's what I think we'll get to him. He comes down in here, and anything that is bad on turkeys, we're bad on them. So this is what they need to do in Canada. Predation don't stop on ducks in Canada. Down in here, that rascal right there, we hadn't declared war on our coyotes. They got to live too, but there needs to be a balance. So we just help balance them out a little bit here. I'm glad you got him, my man. We got us a pretty good flow going here now. Hey, until in the morning. Then we repeat this process every day. Can't miss a day. If you miss a day, your mud and your sticks are twice as high as they were the day before. All we got to do is keep them getting bit by a big cottonmouth, and I'll call today a success. So what else would you like to learn today? I mean, that's a full morning right there, but I don't want to put more on you than your head can stand, because, you know, a dork, he gets to taking in all this stuff, and his head will just explode, you know what I'm saying? I don't want you looking at the ground mumbling to yourself after all this.
I think I can fit a little more.
So what would you like to hear now?
Well, I'm kind of curious about that Mallard Drake call.
The Mallard Drake call. Well, let's go over here in my office. Mallard Drake call. So what is it about the Mallard Drake call that has intrigued you, Helms?
I've never seen one. Anyway.
Well, I built this thing, and a lot of people tried to make imitations of it. But I didn't hold it against them. With this thing, it's totally different than a duck call. Where a regular duck call, you say 10. 10, 10, 10, 10. You take a wood duck call. There's a lot more to it. Some of them other boys will go through that with you. No 10s there either. But a Mallard Drake call, it's an easy thing to learn how to do unless you're a tenor. If you're a fellow who talks real high like that right there, and you can't get down real low, you got a rough time, because vocal cords is what makes this work. I'm going to hum a bass note with my mouth open into that call. The reason I say with my mouth open is because your mouth has to be open for the call. So you're basically saying ah on a bass note. And it could be even lower than that. If you a high hum, tree frog, just like an old tree frog. But but there ain't not enough legs on them to eat meat. You can't get no meat off of them. So you got to go, and what you do, Helms, you mix that in with your hen call as you're working ducks around. Them old mallards will think that there's an old mallard drake down there. It works better, my man, when they're beginning to pair off later on in the year. We're down here in the southern reaches of the flyway. When they begin to pair off in January or so, it works better because, it's just my opinion. Opinions like elbows, everybody's got a couple of them. But I think when they begin to pair off, they fight over those hens. Like a lot of young bucks have been known to do over them fine little chicks at the bar and whatnot. They all go to fighting over. See who's going to be the winner. Winner take all, you know. So that's a good time to use it. But better than that, I think, is on still, foggy days. Sometimes your duck call, a hen call, it tends to be too loud. Most people blow too much, call too much, and call too loud anyway. So it's at those times, on still days, you just put that little drake in there. A lot of times we got a man or two just putting that drake call in with us, and I personally think it helps a lot. There's not but one mallard drake call made, really, and that's it right there. Only one man holds the patent on the mallard drake call, me. So Helms, that's instruction number 2 on how to use a mallard drake call. Now, how do you feel right now from what you've heard?
Well, my head ain't gonna explode just yet.
Okay, well, we don't want to put too much on you, more than you can bear, my man. All right, let's go see if Miss Kay got us something to eat.
Hey, Jason, you clean those fish?
Yeah, I just got finished. Now I got to see if it's. I got fin 3 days ago in my hand. He got me right there. That's 3 days ago. Whole thing swollen up about 3 times size normal, and it's only the 3rd time I've been fin. I hurt my golf game. Driving range. But don't hit a tree, it's a good shot. Where's that been?
Hey,
What?
you got them camo calls in. Look pretty good. I put one together, put another barrel on her.
That's what you was asking me about anyway.
I'm planning to go fishing.
Alright. Don't call me unless you catch them. This is our newest call. Camo Max. Willie designed it. This is the first one. It's got black all over it because they're working on this. We put it in a real tree. What's that called? Advantage Max 4? Yeah, Max 4. This best there is. Easy to blow. I tell you what, that's pretty salty. That's a duck picker's cousin. I believe it'll work. I'm gonna try it next year.
After the old original 200, we come up with a little cut down version. Cut down meaning the end piece is shaved down at a good steep angle. Not so much sound difference. It might have made it a little more raspier, but it just made it a little bit more user friendly. Right after that came, so that was the two wooden ones, the old original and the cut down. And then I said, well, let's build something out of some good hard plastic that won't ever tear up no matter what. So we come up with the reacher, and then we made a little cut down version of the reacher, and I'll show you that down here in a minute.
So what's the sound difference between a wood call and a plastic call?
Very little sound difference on them. The plastic, since it is the porosity is what I would call it of the wood. There's a difference between the porosity of plastic and wood, and so that might make it vary a little bit. But you now, with all the high-tech world of plastic, you can make it as porous as wood. So I like the cut down version. Of the reacher, and until old Jace came along with that duck picker he'll show you later, there's the old reacher right there. For years and years that's all I'd use. Now I use them too, the reacher and the duck picker. So that's in about 30 years. So they're my favorite out of all of them. But I have used them wood calls too on certain days. But that little cut down reacher's got a little nasally, flat sound. But that's as sweet as a mother's love, hams. So you can go through them in your quest to come out of the dork stage into the duck hunter stage. We're going to make a duck hunt out of you. It's a long, laborious process. But how do you feel about it so far?
It's going to take some work. I think I could do it.
Well, you've got the idea, because it does take some work and some practice and a certain amount of dedication. But anything worth having to be good at something, it takes that.
Well, looks like we're gonna do all right.
Got one we ain't got on yet.
No, just that one.
Jeremy D, in your quest on all the duck calls, I don't think Phil covered the old raspy. It's called for the beginners. Everybody's got to start somewhere, man. But this just a good duck call. Makes a good raspy sound. It don't. That's about all you can do with one of them. It don't get, you can't really get after this one. Makes a good quack sound. It'll call ducks. When we was out west, a couple of years ago, out there on a little old river, most of the ducks we seen, we didn't even see no ducks that was high. They was all between about 30 and 50 yards high. And all we would do was just go, get their attention. They'd turn, start coming toward us, and we'd just go. Every time we'd hit that quack, them big mallard drakes would just lock up and come sailing over us. Hey, we just raised up and cut them. But it's a good duck call, especially for somebody that's just starting out in it. It's easy to blow. You're not going to scare them with it, no matter what you do. For people that's used to them and more accomplished at duck calling, you know, we met one old boy there. He won a contest for one of these things, and hey, he could make one of these jokers scream. I don't know what he done to it. I don't know if he changed the reed system in it, but hey, he had it, and I mean, he could actually scream on it. But hey, that's about all I can do with one of them is just. But it's a good duck call. I don't think Phil, at least I don't remember him, did he do a gadwall call or not?
No, he didn't do that yet.
I got one. I brought my call. Jay said he seen an old mallard drake down on the river. Here's another favorite call of mine. Gadwall drake. That thing ugly. Look at it. Big old thing. Me and a buddy of mine, Jay Stone, was in this green seed hole on public land. And there was a bunch of guys in there with us. Well, they wasn't hunting with us, but they was on the hole. And they had mallard calls, and we smoked them with this thing. I mean, when you want to sound like a gadwall, you want to do what gadwalls do. So what does the, what's the sound you hear when you say gadwalls, gadwalls? You know, you in the blind, ducks coming over, you hear this right here. Easy to blow. It just a quick burst of air makes the sound. This would be a good call to for your kids that you're just taking duck hunting, your little boy, your little girl, starting out, or if you're not a very good duck caller, but you want to be a part of the deal, you can blow one of these because you ain't gonna scare nothing off. It just adds realism to your spread. If you got a bunch of decoys out, you want to be like a lot of different ducks there. So this is a good call to have. If you want to sound like a bunch of them, you just do it quicker. But that's what you hear when you hear gadwalls. And it's a real good call to have. A lot of people call it a specialty call, but I just think it needs to be a part of your arsenal because it works. I'm telling you, it's deadly.
All right, Helms. What have you learned? What have you learned so far on your duck calls? What have you learned? I gave you the mallard drake, and I gave you the wooden calls, but I don't think I ever gave you the. I don't think I ever gave you the whistlers. I didn't give you the whistler, did I? I gave you the mallard drake. Remember that? I'm humming a bass note. You see this little thing here? The Helms, anybody can do that. I mean, a dork can do that. A Nintendo man, I mean, good night. This got 3 ducks in it. Of course, a lot of them, you know, they copied my poor little old whistle. You know, they said it'll do everything but slice bread. You got a quail, female. Look at, watch it. That's you can almost get above white. That's a quail if you want to do that. A little bit of a dove. But what I built it for, primarily, is the teal. I'm just blowing straight air, no grunt, no hum. Little old teal, that's all it does is peep. There's your teal hen and your teal drake. You got 3 licks on the widgeon. I'm holding my fingers up like that. The second one is the one you accent. It's I'm hitting right here. Don't forget that. 3 licks. Clench it in your teeth like that. It's easier to do. Straight air. Take your finger. Most human beings that I've met, I have met a few that said they didn't have one. You open your mouth real wide, that little piece of meat hanging down the back of your throat. The Almighty gave you that so you could sound like a pintail. If you didn't have it, you couldn't do it. And I'm going to stick my finger in the end of that like this. See right there? The tone goes from to, it drops down. Don't ask me how I figured that out. It took me a while. You stick your finger in the end of that thing and you flutter. Straight air. No grunt, no hum. You're breaking like a heavy equipment backing up. I'm going. You stagger. You can move your finger down just a little, let a little air out. Just by moving your finger slightly over that opening there. So that's your fine tuner. So you do all that with your uvula. Now that's 3 whistlers that you got out of one little call. Easy to do. 7 or 8 year old boy could do that. Your little teal, you chinch down real tight. 3, 4, 5 notes. And then you got your old woodrow. This is the hardest one to learn how to use, Helms, right here. Now, a man of your stature, it's a long shot. But you like to practice on it. You start out by blowing real soft. It does that on its own. It's going to do that on its own. So you get to where you time it. You can feather your air back in your throat. You're doing that. But your best call is a T, your hands open. T, like a flicker. You know, a sapsucker. I go T with my hand open, and as soon as I close my hand off, let all the air shut off. And watch. In other words, I hold it open. As your woody. Just takes you some practice. It's all a timing thing with the woody. Helms. Helms, once you get this down, you'll be a force to be reckoned with, my friend. Kill him.
You ask him if this call blows wet. We fixed to find out. And you can't get any wetter than that. If any call's wet, the first thing people do is take it apart. I'll show you a trick. You shake it, get the water out. You give a short burst, jar the reed. It's ready to go. That's a trick. I mean, you can get it as wet. Same thing. Shake it. Jar. Do you think it'll blow well?
Yep.
Helms, I hope that helps you. It's just something that a person has to practice on and work at. Duck calling is not complex. It just takes a certain amount of dedication. All right. I got to go make a food plot. I'll come back to my office later on this evening.
Good work, Ed.